On today's DNVR Broncos show, we're breaking down the huge press conferences that the Broncos had yesterday with George Paton, Sean Payton, and Greg Penner, and there's tons to cover, from stadiums to Bo Nix to throwing shade at the Chiefs, and it all starts now. What a big day the Broncos had yesterday, where we heard from Broncos leadership, Sean Payton, George Paton, and the wealthiest owner in American sports, Greg Penner. And we got so much to get into on the DNVR Broncos podcast. We are live from the Toyota Lounge, driven by your local Front Range Toyota stores, and we are presented by Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Deposit $10, place a $5 bet, and you are guaranteed $150 in bonus bets. And to my left, I've got Super Bowl 50 champ Todd Davis. To my right, I've got Henry Chisholm. Behind the camera, we've got Yahir and Zach Stevens rocking and rolling with you guys today. Fellas, happy Thursday.
Happy Thursday, man. I'm just sitting here thinking about Greg Penner and how amazing it feels to walk into the room and know you're probably the richest person there, just in a room full of normal people. Yeah. And then he walks into the room of very rich people, and he's still like, I'm still probably the biggest dog here. What's up, guys?
I decided yesterday that I'm going to write his biography.
Wow.
Yeah.
How are you going to do that?
I don't know yet, process-wise. But I think it's going to be, because hopefully everything goes well with the Broncos for like decades and all that sort of stuff. But what a crazy life.
We're still not.
I would never
yet.
joke about somebody's profession,
yet,
but his parents wrote Christian sex therapy books.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he went from that to like meeting a Walton heir and getting married to all the other
How
stuff.
You think
and
he
into
got
this.
her?
Yes. It's
good tricks from mom and dad.
Yeah. That's how he. There we
Wow.
go. But see, no, that's how I realized I have so many questions about this guy. I'm sure it'd be a great book.
Fire book.
Yeah. Not like the books his family previously wrote, but
Have you read any of those books?
for research, I think we might have to.
Should we do a book?
Off-season book club.
Yeah, book club.
Off-season book club.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was.
DNVR After Dark.
I'm down.
I think the statute of limitations has lifted enough that I can say there was a group in the locker room back in November that was going to start a book club and read the Percy Jackson books.
Percy Jackson and the
Olympians, yeah. There was a group of Broncos who I will not name, but I doubt that ever got off the ground, but that was a real idea they were committed to.
I don't know if that's as cool as like the Kama Sutra and stuff like that, but
Yeah, I don't know that needs to be like a team group read, other than for us and the Penner books.
Unfortunately, got to wrap up this conversation because we've got so much to talk about. You hear that one that you've got dialed up. Let's save that for the second segment. But so much was said, and we are going to touch on so many things. And let's start with what these guys had to say about Bo Nix. We obviously hear Sean Payton talk about Bo Nix week in and week out, but we finally got to hear Sean Payton talk about his rookie year in entirety. We have not heard from George Paton or Greg Penner talk about Bo Nix's rookie season. So let's start with QB1. And guys, it was pretty clear yesterday that the Broncos are 100% sold on Bo Nix. Let's hear from Sean first to get things rolling. What did Sean have to say about Bo Nix's rookie season?
There were a lot of things to be encouraged about. I had a good visit with him yesterday. His movement skills, some of the things maybe that we didn't even see or forecast coming. His decision making, he's extremely accurate. I've said this before, he's hard to sack. And that's a good trait to have in our league. And then there are things that, he's going to look at and grow from and build on, whether it's third down snaps, whether it's pressure snaps. But but I'm real encouraged, and I'm glad that he's with us, and that it worked out the way it did. I know this. He's very conscientious. He comes in. He spends a lot of time here. He was here in my office for a half an hour yesterday. I think it's all in front of him, and I've said this before. I think we found that player that can lead us and be what we need relative to having the success we're used to having. I think we found it. There are a lot of things to be.
Right there, Sean Payton just said, we have our franchise quarterback, and that was the strongest stamp of approval that a head coach, especially an offensive one, especially a quarterback guru, especially one that's been around Drew Brees and knows what that looks like, can say when he says, we found that player that can lead us. Not just like we have a good quarterback, but he looked at Bo in even a bigger light and said, we're going to follow him for the next decade.
And that's important because, first and foremost, that's who your quarterback has to be. If the guys in the locker room aren't inspired by your quarterback, don't see him as a leader, I think the team as a whole suffers and you never get the full potential out of your roster. So it's important for Bo to be the guy that, other players can look to. That's kind of like a second coach from the field. So I think they found the right guy, and, Sean's excited for it. Who wouldn't be?
Yeah.
Going back to that, I'm curious, because you were on the show, what do you think of Bo playing through the 3 transverse process fractures?
Fractured back is what he had. Broken back.
Yeah, broke back.
Apparently, it hurts really bad, but it's not dangerous.
I think it's great. I think the great players, all the great players, play through injuries.
Yep.
So I think it's necessary if he wants to be the guy. I'm glad he wasn't tapping out because he was tired.
Shout out to Anthony Richardson.
That's
so
the
he's
entire
definitely
opposite
showing,
direction.
a lot of character. Because it's not easy to be out there, but everybody's dealing with something. But just
Exactly.
knowing that your quarterback had an issue, that he never made it a big deal and was out there on the field and found a way to stay out there, that kind of puts in everybody's mind, like, if there's a way for me to go, I got to go. Like, if you're hurt, you don't need to be out there. But if you're just injured, find a way to play.
Exactly.
Thank you, Todd. Taking my side with this.
What did
We
you
were on
think?
the same side.
Oh,
What did he say?
not a big deal. It's not that big of a
No,
deal.
it's what you do. I mean, would John Elway have played through it? Absolutely. He's John Elway. He played his entire career with no ACL.
He's a dog, though.
Exactly.
Yep.
He's a dog, and that's what the Broncos need. Like, Bo's job is to be John Elway, which is a really hard job to have, but that's just one of those boxes that you check on the way to being that guy.
Yep, 100%. And I assume that carried a lot of weight in the locker room. Todd, you've been in locker rooms. Does that, especially when it's a rookie, especially when it's that position that's supposed to be a leadership position?
Yeah, I think so, because people are always looking at the leaders to see, like, what's going to make you tap out and what's going to make you quit on your team or give up. And as soon as you do as a leader, then everybody else follows suit and uses that same excuse. Like, that's the top of how far they'll go, because that's as far as a leader go. I don't have to go push past that. So now everybody knows, like, if you have a fractured back, you got to play.
Yes. And if you're a Colt, then you get a little tired, feel free to head to the sideline.
You can tap out.
Yep.
Just ask coach.
You saw that team tap out towards the end of the year. Like,
did. They were tired.
They couldn't finish. They were tired.
Long season.
They couldn't beat the Giants, right? That's who ended their season. Oh my goodness. They put Drew Lock in so that the Giants could secure the number 1 overall pick, and they still couldn't beat them. So yeah, 100%. You take the identity. What's been told to me is you either take the identity of your head coach or your quarterback, a mixture of both or neither. And the worst place to be is neither, because then you have no leadership. And I think the Broncos definitely taking a combination of both right now, or will in the future at least. I think this team has definitely rallied around Sean so far.
I
Without a
have
doubt.
one more question about that. So on Altitude a couple days ago, Tyler Columbus said that he had a few teammates who had this and played through it. Do you remember any of your teammates having it? I know it's a pretty specific thing.
No, not that I could think of.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Sean pointed to leadership for Bo. George Paton pointed to another trait that is crucial for a franchise quarterback. Let's hear what George had to say about Bo.
You all saw it. A pretty incredible rookie year. Bo was a pro the minute he walked in the building for rookie minicamp. You saw the poise throughout the season, poise beyond his years, poise, for a rookie. Just the leadership. He was a captain as a rookie, and that's tough. And, man, the team embraced him. And so you just look at that, the intangible piece, and then you look at the talent, what he did on the field. A lot of the games looked like they did at Oregon, very accurate, can process, makes quick decisions. He doesn't put the ball in harm's way too often. Third least sacks, we talked about that all through the draft process. You saw the arm. He's got really good arm talent. And so I think the thing that you search for through the draft process is he never flinched. We'd be behind in games. We always came back, didn't always win them. We're always looking for that it factor. I talked about it with you guys previously. And you go to Kansas City, that tough environment, he brings us back in field goal range. The Raiders, you can name a bunch of games. Cincinnati, that's a tough place to play. And Bo, man, he raised the level of everyone around him. And so I feel like he has that it factor. Things he need to work on, the coaches will get with him. He knows he has a lot to work on to get to where he wants to be. And that's his mindset. He's been here. It's like, Bo, you got to take a little break. He was here today. He was here yesterday. And so I'm sure he'll get away from it and then jump into it.
Man, so many things there. I want to start with where George ended there. The staff has to tell him, Bo, you got to take a break, man. The season ended. Get away. That's exactly what you want. You want the coaches and GM to tell your quarterback, go take a break, instead of saying, like, please come back to the building. Like, the Colts might be begging Anthony Richardson to be coming back into the building this offseason, where the Broncos have to push Bo out the door and say, get away, take some time, and refresh before next season.
Yeah, he's a grinder, man. I think it's important to see his work ethic. And like we talked about, the team's going to follow his lead. So him being there, him wanting to do more. Sometimes you can overwork yourself, but I think it's good for him coming off his rookie season, already trying to find ways to get better.
Yeah. It's just a tough situation to be in. Like, it's a situation we're all jealous of, being a starting quarterback of the Broncos, but legitimately, like, your job is to be one of the great quarterbacks in the NFL. Like, you've got to match up to John Elway and Peyton Manning. Like, that's where the bar is here. And that's just a lot of pressure for anybody to have as a 24-year-old. So now that you don't have that routine.
To do.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think it.
You'd love it, but there's a lot of stress that comes along with it. It's just like when Quinn was talking about, like, team captain. It's a lot more stress than I realized. Or having the big contract that you have to live up to. It's a lot more stress. Like, I think there's something too. You do need to step away and, like, take a little break, because it'd be easy just to be manic about, I need to get better. I need to get better. I need to get better. Like, a month off this time of year is a good thing.
For sure, it's a good thing. But I also think that Quinn and Bo are built very different. Quinn came from Division III Whitewater. I'm sure when he started there, he didn't think his NFL career, or he didn't think he was going to have an NFL career, let alone be making $80 million in his NFL career. Plus, Bo grew up with a dad that was a legend at Auburn, and he probably thought, like, man, I'm just going to follow in Dad's footsteps. My dad did it. I can do it too. And then he did go to Auburn, and then he did go to Oregon, and then he was getting paid NIL money at Oregon, and he was on the national stage for many, many years, and he was a team captain at Oregon. So I think that the pressure that Quinn has admitted to this season, Bo, I really don't think has felt.
I would just say it's a massive. In 20 years, he's either going to be a god in Denver, or he's not going to be able to show his face in town. Like, there are two ways it goes for starting quarterbacks, and, like, it stinks, but, like,
no, I think there's a middle ground there.
Is there? I guess Jake Plummer exists.
Yeah,
Jake Plummer exists.
And,
but Jake Plummer wasn't drafted here. Like, he was brought in as a journeyman.
Is
like,
Tim Tebow a god, or?
Well, he is
I
God.
don't. Yeah,
I'm pretty
that
sure.
is true. There is some middle ground. But that's what you're working for, though,
Jay
is to be
Cutler
like.
Also, he can be in Denver and show his face.
But it just there's
always pressure that comes with being a starting quarterback.
Yes.
But I think in Bo's case, he's in a unique position because we've seen other quarterbacks come here and try to be more than what they are or the talent that they have. I think the good thing about Bo, and the reason why he can press a little bit harder, is because he's nowhere near his ceiling. And I think everybody knows. I think he knows that. I think he sees areas where he can get better. Whereas I think where the pressure comes in is when you're, like, at your peak and you feel like, I got to stay here, or I got to find a way to get better. I think Bo is not there yet.
Yeah, and let's continue, because we've got one more clip to play. Oh, really quick. He also said he has the it factor, which is just like all of the intangibles. That's what that tells me. And that's kind of what George was talking about that entire time was the intangibles. So it factor, leadership, that is huge. Let's hear what Greg Penner had to say as well. But before we do that, I've got to tell you, we're talking right now about how the Broncos could be winning Super Bowls with Bo Nix. Not this year, but if you want to watch the Super Bowl with Broncos legends like Emmanuel Sanders, you can do that at Empower Field at Mile High. There might be no cooler way to watch the Super Bowl than at Empower Field at Mile High, sitting on the grass, surrounded by NFL legends, including Emmanuel Sanders, who everyone loves. And you can do that if you're a Verizon customer. They're having the Verizon Fan Fest all across the country. Every single city that has an NFL team, they are hosting a Super Bowl party for. And the awesome thing, all you have to do is be a Verizon customer, and you are going to get access to this awesome free event. And if you want to get in on this, just become a Verizon customer. It's free for all Verizon customers. Switch to Verizon at your local Verizon store to grab tickets and get all of the details over at VerizonFanFest.com. That's coming up. So if you want tickets, make sure to switch to Verizon, be a Verizon customer, and go swing by a Verizon store to get your tickets if you want to watch the Super Bowl at Empower Field and Mile High, which just sounds awesome.
Yep. Also, shout out to Game Time. I'm still holding out hope that I can get myself a Super Bowl ticket. I don't
this year.
Yeah, I don't love my chances because the prices have only gone up. But Game Time's the way to go if you decide to do it. It's like Kendrick Lamar halftime show.
Wow.
I feel like that's one that I would blow the money to see it. I just need to find the money first.
You probably want the Texans and who's a bad fan base in the NFC?
Well, it's not the Lions. It's not the Eagles.
Right.
So
Rams? Probably Rams.
Probably.
Right. So you want the Rams and Texans to play so the prices go down.
And so I think the key might be make a bet on the Texans to play the Rams in the Super Bowl. And then use that money to buy the ticket.
Yeah.
And then go see the halftime show.
Well, you're just
and the
wasting
football
that money,
game too.
That's not going to happen.
It is what it is. But if you want to, first of all, if you have $6,000 to blow on a Super Bowl ticket, Game Time's your spot. But if not, there are a whole bunch of other options. Like yesterday, I think it was like $18 eventually. Tuesday, the Nuggets host the 76ers. Joel Embiid, day-to-day, somehow has missed 6 games while being day-to-day. That might be a Joker Embiid matchup. $12 to get in. So Game Time's the best. Go check them out. And if you use our code DNVR, you can get $20 off. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code DNVR for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code DNVR for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed.
All right, let's hear from Greg Penner talking about Bo Nix and what he saw from him both on and off the field.
Yeah, I was incredibly impressed with Bo, both on and off the field. He it never seemed like any moment was too big for him, and we had some big moments this year. He battled throughout games. Never saw him give up or let up, even when things weren't going our way. I think he's got all the physical traits that you need to be a great quarterback. Mentally, he's sharp. The players respond to him. His teammates love him. In terms of the offseason, he's an incredibly hard worker and loves studying tape, loves being in the gym, and I think that'll serve him well this offseason as he builds for the future. And I know he's going to be better next year.
That sounds like a guy that's ready to give Bo a $500 million contract at some point in the future.
Wow.
I would love a billionaire to talk about me that way.
That would be nice.
It would be.
Especially one that controlled your paycheck.
It's very true.
Yeah.
Yes.
Did you notice, speaking of billionaires, the difference in Greg Penner's press conference compared to George Paton and Sean Payton when you watched that, Todd?
He was sitting down.
He was sitting down. Yeah. The other two had to stand behind a little podium, and there was a little intermission between the first two and then Greg because they brought in a table that has a tablecloth on it with the Broncos helmet, with a couple of different waters, sparkling water if you wanted, just normal tap water if you wanted, for a 20 or a 10-minute conversation. So they treat the owners a little different. As they probably should.
As they should, for sure.
Yes.
If you like your job, make sure that Mr. Penner is well taken care of.
It's so true.
Yeah.
Any final thoughts on Bo before we move on?
No, I think, the ownership and GM head coach feels the same way about Bo as most of the fans do.
Mm-hmm.
They think Bo's the future. They know he's had a good rookie season, and they're excited for him moving forward. And I think everybody in Broncos country kind of has the same sentiment right now that Bo's the guy. We're excited to see what he does in year 2 and how far he can take this team.
Yep. You have to love what he did as a rookie, and you just want to see him between now and like the end of his rookie contract take a couple steps and be comparable with like a Joe Burrow or like that tier, because that's what you're looking for when you spend a first-round pick. And he's well on his way.
He went toe-to-toe with Joe Burrow less than a month ago in Cincinnati. Took him to overtime. So you want to see him consistently there. That's for sure. Let's move on because there was a very interesting dynamic that happened at Broncos headquarters yesterday. I think there were some shots at the Kansas City Chiefs, and not even hidden shots. I think Sean Payton and then Greg Penner actually backed up Sean on these. Let's hear from Sean and listen real carefully to this clip. It's Sean talking about how confident the team was in making a playoff run if they were able to get past the Bills this past weekend. Let's hear from Sean.
I'm telling you what, I didn't see a gap last weekend until the second half, and then you see a gap because you're losing. But I felt real confident we'd go in there and play well and win. We obviously didn't play well enough, but those lines are much finer than we think. I use that term. There's a fine line between a groove and a rut, and it's a player. It's two players. It's the line of scrimmage. It's the kicking game. So we're not looking backwards. We're looking ahead, and it starts with the division. And there's a lot of confidence in this team. If we could get past that game, the next game we had to play, we felt real good about. And so we're still not there yet, and yet we're a lot closer than we were at this time a year ago. That was.
I love that. I love the confidence. If we would have beat the Chiefs, which they didn't, we felt
Bills.
Bills. Yeah, thank you. We felt real good about playing the Chiefs this coming week.
I mean,
We all did. Yeah,
we all did.
that's the correct answer. I think
But it's different coming from the head coach.
Yeah,
True, to say it,
and
yeah.
out of nowhere too. Like it's not like someone asked him.
Yeah.
I mean,
I
yeah.
think it's really how they felt. And the way he put the emphasis on it, I feel like he still feels like the team could put together a game against the Chiefs this week if they needed to.
Totally.
Yeah, it's a good place to be. Chiefs are the best team in the division right now. Have had a hold on the AFC West for a multitude of years. And if you feel like, honestly, in your heart, we can go toe-to-toe with the Chiefs at any point in the season, it's a great place to be. I mean, we're going to have to beat them if we want to talk about winning Super Bowls and being a really good team. So first and foremost, I think is the belief. You have to believe that you can go out and beat that team, and then you can go out there and actually do it. So we're one step closer to, being able to get this thing done.
Yeah, it reminds me of last season. Somebody asked Nikola Jokic, do you think you guys can win a championship this year? And he said, just depends on the matchups in the playoffs, which kind of like caught people off guard because they were expecting him to say like, yes, we can because this, or no, we can't. But that's what it comes down to. And it's the same thing in the NFL playoffs where they match up really well with the Chiefs. That doesn't mean they're going to win more often than not or more talented or whatever, but they match up well. The way they want to play football games means they have a chance. But there are a bunch of different tests that you got to pass if you want to go win a Super Bowl. The Chiefs are going to be one of them regardless, but you have to also be able to beat the Bills. You have to also be able to beat, maybe it's the Ravens, maybe it's the Texans, whoever it may be. Again, like Nuggets last year, they hit the Timberwolves, who have Rudy Gobert, Karl Anthony Towns, two good centers, and that's just a tough matchup when you want to play through your center. So it's great that you've built the team to have a good matchup, similar to how the Timberwolves did against the Nuggets, who were the best team. The Broncos kind of have that against the Chiefs, but you just need to you need to figure out how to beat those other teams.
So Sean also had another interesting point in there, and I agree. I love that he's confident and willing to say that out loud too, and kind of put the Chiefs on notice for next year as well. But he also said that the game got out of hand in the second half, and that's where the gap showed up. He didn't even say like that there was a gap between the Broncos and the Bills, because he said in the first half there was really no gap, and in the second half, well, the game just kind of got out of hand because they got the lead. Is that right? Or because I think a lot of Broncos fans after that game were saying, man, we're still far away from being able to compete with the elite teams in the AFC. We just got beat by 24 points. Mm-hmm. Is it that, or is Sean Payton right? Was that game 24 points at the end of the game just because the game, they took the lead and the Broncos maybe pressed?
Well, I kind of heard, his response a little bit differently.
Okay.
I felt like he was saying, like, in the first half, there wasn't a gap, and the Broncos played them tough. Mm-hmm. And then there was a gap in the second half, and then there was also a gap because we were losing. I think the gap compounded upon itself because they were losing at that point. But absolutely, in the second half, the Broncos were not ready to play the Bills. It's kind of like when, Montana goes and plays Alabama or something.
Yeah, or like when they play Washington and they beat them.
The second half is just, every team gets blown out.
Yeah. George Paton said later on, I don't think we have this clip, but he said, really, that's our goal this whole offseason, try to find that secret sauce. And I think that's kind of what they're talking about there, where it's just like you need whatever it is, some sort of weapon, some sort of whatever, and just those final few pieces so that you have just a little bit more juice to be able to compete with those teams. I think, there's that gap there, but that gap is just all those other all the teams that are still in the playoffs have something really special. Like whether it's the Mahomes Kelsey, whether it's Josh Allen, even the Rams with Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, and the way Stafford is just able to feed them all over. Like the Broncos just need to figure out what makes them special and unique, because right now they're just a little bit vanilla. They don't have a lot of things that just stand out and scare you.
And then Greg Penner made it very clear what the Broncos' goal is next season. And I want to ask you guys, is this too high of a bar? Let's see what Greg said.
Absolutely. I mean, we could have very easily been 2-0 against the Chiefs this year, and our absolute goal next year is to win our division. I think Bo talking about no prima donnas is a great testament to the culture that Sean is building here, which is
our absolute goal next year is to win the division. Mm-hmm. Do you like that coming from the owner?
I do.
Yeah.
It's always good to talk about your goals, and I think that the team was in a very good position this year. Had they beat the Chiefs early, we had 2 losses to the Chargers, but I think the second one was competitive. First one kind of got away from us in the second half, but I think there is opportunity for us to win our division. Not saying it's going to be easy, but I don't think that is way out of left field or something that can never happen. I think it's very doable for next year.
Yeah. I mean, that should be the goal. That should absolutely be the goal, because I don't know what your goal would be if it's not that. It's like make the playoffs as a wild card again. Like your goal needs to be improving. Your goal needs to raise the bar. Yeah. And that to me is like the next logical step when you're trying to raise a bar.
And when I view that, and I love him saying that, setting the bar high. But you know what that also means? That also means if you win the division, you have a damn good shot at being the number 1 seed in the AFC.
You could.
And that's where he kind of is setting the bar there, because the Chiefs, how many times have they had the 1 seed in the past decade?
Often.
Often. Probably even more times than not. So if you're going to knock them off for the top seed in the AFC West, you're going to probably knock them off for the top seed in the AFC as well. Mm-hmm. So that is a high bar there. Mm-hmm. And I like that that Greg is putting that pressure on. Remember 1 year ago from today, when they held their season-ending press conference after how that season ended, 8-9, they benched Russell Wilson. It was pretty clear they were going to take an $85 million dead cap. Greg Penner said, essentially, we're not rebuilding. Mm-hmm. We want to win, and we want to win now. So he put the pressure on Sean Payton and George Paton, and they lived up to it. Right now, this was the pressure that he's putting onto them. Our goal is to win the AFC. They lived up to it last year. Can they live up to it this year? Maybe so.
Yeah. AFC West, right?
AFC West, yeah. AFC West.
I do think that's 2 steps, not 1.
Yes.
What?
If he was saying they could be the number 1 team in the AFC.
Yeah. But again, saying the AFC West, if you do that, that could very likely lead to just winning the AFC.
There's a chance.
It could, but I think the Broncos could have done that this year and not won the AFC. Like had they beat the Chiefs early in the season and then just got one game from the Chargers, they would have won the AFC. Because they would have split with the Chargers, they would have beat the Raiders twice, and then they would have beat the Chiefs twice.
No, Chiefs would have been 14 wins. Broncos would have been 13.
I mean, they would have won the AFC West though, right?
No, because the Chiefs would have had one more win.
But they would have
Total
lost to the
record matters.
Broncos.
Yeah, but they would have been 14.
See, this is why I don't get into this.
But see, my thing is like, to me, the question is like, when is there like pressure to reach that goal? Because like, if they don't win the AFC West next year, it's not like you're firing Sean Payton or George Paton,
Absolutely
or anything like that. But eventually, they do need to take another step. And so, like 5 years from now, if every single year you're just a wild card team, those guys are probably gone. You're probably looking for somebody to try to get over the top.
I don't know.
Mike Tomlin's done it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can also
He also won a Super Bowl there.
You can also make a run in the playoffs, and they might do that without winning the AFC.
It's very rare.
The AFC West. It's not very rare. There's been teams that are wild card teams that make runs. And yeah, exactly. The Giants. I believe Mike Tomlin and the Steelers have done it as well. I like that he's setting the bar that high. That's a good conversation to have, though, in the future, Henry, and we have more time, is diving into that.
It's happened 7 times.
It's happened 7 times, yeah. So it can happen.
Yeah.
So let's move on, because I've got a quote that is just so juicy from Sean Payton, and I want to get your guys' reaction after I give a shout out to our friends over at Toyota. Our friends Ryan and Jake got stranded on the side of a road in the Toyota yesterday, and the Toyota roadside assistance came to save them. And that's just one of the benefits of Toyota. If you want a Toyota, you've got to check out they have so many stores in the Denver metro area where they have so many different models, including 17 models with available all-wheel drive or four-wheel drive, like the 4Runner, like the new Land Cruiser that just came out. The Land Cruiser might be my new favorite Toyota right now. And they have so many different cars for so many different people. Whatever you're looking for, they have got it, including if you're a truck person, they've got the 2024 Tacoma, and you can get that. You can actually get the Tundra with the iForce Max hybrid. It just packs so much power into it. They also got the Grand Highlander. They have so many smaller cars too, like the Prius, Corolla, Camry. And if you want to check one out, go visit your local Front Range Toyota store at a location near you. AutoNation Toyota, Arapahoe and Centennial, Corwin Toyota in Boulder, Groove Toyota in Littleton, Mountain States Toyota in Denver, Stevenson Toyota East in Aurora, and Stevenson Toyota West in Lakewood. Toyota, the official automotive partner of the NFL and the official vehicle of DNVR.
And shout out to our friends over at Coors Light. You guys know we love our Coors Light here. We keep it on set, and you know it's ready for you and the crew when the mountains turn blue. Coors Light's just nice and refreshing. If you needed to take a break from, kids or work, whatever's stressing you out, if you want to choose chill, you can check out Coors Light. They're the best in the business. And if you want Coors Light delivered straight to your front door, you can do so through Instacart by going to CoorsLight.com/DNVR. Remember, guys, celebrate responsibly. Coors Brewing Company in Golden, Colorado.
And shout out to our presenting sponsor, Bet365. Use that code DNVR365. Deposit $10. Place a $5 bet, and you're going to get $150 in bonus bets. Guaranteed. All right, you hear that clip that you had dialed up for the start of the show. Let's play it now. This is Sean Payton just talking about how different things were a year ago from now and now. And listen how bad things were a year ago in Sean Payton's mind.
We're still not there yet, and yet we're a lot closer than we were at this time a year ago. That was misery, sorrow, drudgery. Give me some other adjectives there. Just God, that was brutal. Let's say that.
Tell me how you really feel about Russell Wilson, Sean. Tell me how you really feel about Russ.
I mean, that is just, you have to think, where were they a year ago? And that is just a terrible situation to be in, where it's like, we don't have any choice but to cut Russ right now. Like, because of the salary cap, all that sort of stuff, which is just not a fun off season. Like this year, they get to tell Bo, like, you did a great job. Like, you get to go improve and come back. Like, that's the message that you get to send to basically everybody on the team. It's just like this happy, positive one. Meanwhile, you're getting ready to call a starting quarterback, a Hall of Famer, into your office and say, like, hey, we're doing this, which, even if you hate the guy, is not a fun conversation to have. And then you have to deal with the money, which means that you're hamstrung all offseason. And, like, if I were Sean Payton, I would have been very depressed last January, and this time it's just a much happier situation.
Oh, it was worse than depressed, though. It was misery, sorrow, drudgery, brutal.
Yeah, I don't know if I would have been depressed. As long as my job's not on the line, I don't know if I'd be depressed. But it was a tough situation to try and climb out of. You talked about all the things that made it tough. It wasn't easy to get to this point that we are here now, and I feel like they're much happy. I mean, he wasn't smiling, but he seemed a lot happier than he did last year.
And really quick, just from the vibes of listening to, I think they each spoke for a collective 45 minutes yesterday. George and Greg Penner, while they did say with their words, like, we're happy with where we are, but we want more, they both had a tone of, like, of happiness of this season. And they both did express that, but they both also said they want more. Sean didn't have that tone of happiness yesterday. He had, I mean, he admitted he hates this part of the season. He hates when the season's over. You can tell that he is a football junkie of all football junkies. He loves when the grind of the season's going, and he hates this downtime now. And he admitted that. He said, this is a sad time for me to be now. I just enter back into normal life, essentially, instead of just getting to put all other responsibilities aside and just be a football coach for, every single minute of every single day for the past 6 months or so. So maybe it was that, but also I think Sean, he wants to be playing in the postseason longer and longer and longer. And this organization, though, isn't used to that over the past decade. So these other guys that have been here maybe a little bit longer are happy with where the season is. But I thought he absolutely continued to bury Russ with that quote, because that was all about Russ. Come on, that's what he was thinking about the whole time.
He was talking about the situation.
Russ.
No,
I mean,
not
the
just
Russ situation.
It was the situation.
The Russ situation.
But he wasn't saying all that, saying, like, Russ was all these things. He was saying being in that situation.
What situation?
Having to cut Russell Wilson and take on that dead cap.
The Russ situation.
But you're saying he's not insulting Russ. He said that Russ was misery and drudgery.
No. The situation about Russ was that.
Well, you could also say the situation that our GM put us in was, you know what I'm saying?
It wasn't. Yeah. It wasn't
just Russ.
It wasn't
just Russ that put together his own contract, signed it.
That
like
was so directed
like
at
everybody
you guys.
I think Russ would say the exact same thing. I think that they're both talking about the whole situation right there. I think Russ would have that exact same answer. Say it was drudgery, it was misery. Like
I don't think so, because he got $100 million check on the way out.
Well,
Sean didn't get $100 million check on the way out.
As a starting quarterback, to know that you aren't good enough and people are going to pay you $100 million just to leave, that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks, but it's not misery, drudgery, sorrow. And he knew he was going to get another chance.
Do you remember him talking at the end of last year? Did that look like a happy guy?
No, but remember, the situation is, here's $100 million.
That's not it.
Please go.
He'd already got. It was $38 million.
Image in the media is that I suck. I'm trash. I got to deal. People calling me like that sucks.
It was a $38 million check, and also he expected to have
that
like
was the case for 2
million.
years though.
What do you mean?
He had been getting buried for 18 months up to that point.
Yes, so it sucked the whole time.
Yeah. I would say Sean probably said it sucked the whole time too.
Sucked.
Yeah. I don't know.
And
I think it's easier when you're getting a fat check.
I played my best.
Than if you have to deal with the mess that's left.
But it's always easier when you're getting paid.
Exactly.
But
that's what I'm saying.
But it's still miserable. And also, when you expect $150 million and you get $38 million, that is a big difference.
Well, no, because he still got the 120 guaranteed.
But the check though is 38 because he's already gotten all that money.
He got $120 million. Yes. No, yes, he did. Over 2 years, he got $120 million in cash.
That's how while he was a Bronco. So like a lot of that money had already come in though. Yeah. So like you get the signing bonus, you get that
check to leave.
Yeah, $30 million or $38 million to leave.
That's 40.
But you're talking
about the pressure that Bo was feeling.
The point is,
Bo was feeling that pressure
no
matter what he's getting paid, and he's getting paid very well. It doesn't mean that the pressure's not there. Just like he can be in a bad situation even though you're making money from it. it doesn't mean that the situation doesn't suck and you're miserable because you have to go through it, even though you have money in your bank account.
Yeah, it's like if somebody told me, like,
athletes have hearts too.
Yeah,
Zach,
yes,
we have feelings too.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is it's easier to accept the situation when you're getting a $40 million check on the way out than if you're Sean Payton
getting a $20 million check on the way in.
But
having to clean the situation up.
The $40 million check doesn't feel so good when you thought you were getting $150 million.
Again, but he
like it's like if somebody gave me like 38 and I was like, you told me all morning you were going to give me 150.
But in total he got 100.
Sad.
In total he got 120.
Then in total he expected 270.
No, in total he expected 30 million less. You expect the guarantees. Okay, so let's move on. George Paton. How did Sean Payton do in his second season with the Broncos?
He was outstanding. I mean, a tremendous job just leading this team, instilling a mindset, a culture. I think when you came in the building, there was a confident level, and so that's Sean's secret sauce. But we had some stretches. We started the season 0-2. Everyone. Thought we were done, then we win 3 in a row. And so, him being able to get that out of our team, we had a stretch, Kansas City, we missed the field goal. And it's really tough for a coach to go in the locker room after a game like that. And Sean, in about 3 minutes, galvanized the team, and we won 4 in a row. He's done an incredible job. He's an incredible leader, obviously a bright football mind, and we're very lucky to have him.
Did Sean Payton have an outstanding and incredible year?
He had a really good season.
Oh, yeah.
And I think, he's talking about the times that the team bounced back. And when you look back at the season, they bounced back from some rough times a couple times this year. And I think that's all a testament to Sean and Sean getting them back on track. Even him losing the game against the Chiefs and then coming in and showing other games where he's lost late in the game to show people that, things happen and we can't hang our head because we still got more season to play. That's all veteran coaching and leadership. So I think he's done a great job this year. And like you said, they have a young team and a team that played really well for Sean, and I felt like fought the entire season, even in games where they should have been down and out against the Bengals. They find a way to tie it and go into overtime. I think that's really good coaching on Sean's part. Yeah.
I'm curious to see where he shows up in the Coach of the Year voting. Because I wouldn't be surprised if he comes in at 2 or 3. He's going to be right up there. Like, he had one of the best seasons of any coach in the NFL. Like, the expectations, I mean, the stats he put up with a rookie quarterback, like the fact that they won as many games as they did when nobody expected it, like that alone speaks for itself. And all of us closer to the team see that there's way more to it than that.
I think he's probably going to finish 3rd in Coach of the Year behind Dan Campbell and Kevin O'Connell, which is an incredibly impressive job. Just like Sean did, kind of asking media for more adjectives to Barry Russ. I think Greg or George could have done the same thing, like outstanding, incredible, help me out. What are some more adjectives to show? Tremendous, amazing. Because he did, I mean, you could say any word for as good of a job as you can do without winning a Super Bowl. That is what Sean Payton did there. So we all agree on that. Now let's kind of get into some more of the random things that we learned yesterday. We kind of hit all of the big topics there. And let's start with uniforms. A year with the new Mile High collection where they wore 13 different combinations of uniforms. What did Greg Penner, the one who ultimately signed off on these uniforms? You don't have that one. You hear.
Well, you tell us what he said.
So he said, overall, he really liked them. He really liked the uniforms. He didn't like one combination, and he said the combination, and it was a combination they actually never wore. So maybe he X'd that out before they even wore it. And overall, he's very pleased with the uniforms of the Broncos. But he said one very interesting thing. He said, I noticed that fans, quote, unanimously love the throwback jerseys. Yeah, you noticed that one, right? Everyone loves them.
Yep. Everybody did. They were the best jerseys. Maybe in the NFL this year. They were hands down a fan favorite. They didn't miss. Every time they wore them, they won.
Yep. 2-0.
I mean, come on now.
Yeah.
It's just good.
Against
good
division
karma.
opponents, too.
Good energy with those
The
jerseys.
thing is, we all knew that before, too.
Yeah.
Like, we all knew everybody would unanimously like them. we all knew that some people would like the other uniforms and some people wouldn't. Like, we didn't know exactly what those splits would be, but it was that's not news. That's something we all have known for years, is that if they wear those uniforms, everybody will be thrilled.
And if you're the owner, and I guess your whole job isn't to just appease fans, but that's probably a big part. Obviously, win games and make your fans happy and make money at the same time. Those seem like the three things you want to do. I mean, why wouldn't you just switch to them? And I get you have contracts with Nike and the NFL, and for some reason it's hard to switch uniforms quickly. So maybe it's not something they could do this year. They're definitely not going to do it this year. I think it's like a 3 or 4 year window is the quickest you can switch. But the Broncos already have the uniforms made. If Greg is really listening to the fans and really cares what they have to say, he knows it's unanimous that everyone loves him. Even like I tweeted that out, and JJ Watt, not a Broncos fan, quote tweeted me and said, everyone loved him, not just Broncos fans. Bring him back, make him the primary uniform for the team. Everyone would love that. Maybe they'll do that in a couple of years.
Nice little flex there. I like that.
Thank you.
know what I'm saying?
Well, someone in the Twitter chat said it, so I thought I could flex.
Has that out there. But no, I think it is news to him. Like,
It might be, but
because like he's a billionaire, he's a great businessman. Like, if he was a fashion icon too, it would be too much. You can't have everything. You know what I'm saying? So I think he did learn that maybe those throwbacks were the best ones.
Did you see the Walmart rebrand? They just like updated their logo and paid.
Walmart itself.
Yeah, and so it goes like the blue is just like a tiny bit lighter. The little like, I don't even know what that is. It's almost like a little sun with nothing in the middle. Those got just like a tiny bit thicker. Like that's the world they live in. It's just like, let's make this happen. Like, this is more like just go do what everybody wants. It's not like make these little weird changes. You don't need to pander to everybody. You don't need to send out like your surveys and be like, here's what we do. It's the uniforms they make just feel so generic, whereas those old ones are just so good. And honestly, I think the road throwbacks would be even better. Because you have like the blue numbers with like the orange outline and the blue matches the helmet. Like, I honestly think those would be even better than the home ones. And if that's your set, it'd be incredible. I
don't think Greg Penner and the ownership group have got any negative feedback about their over 2 years as owners.
No.
Except for the jerseys. Like, and the only thing with the jerseys is fans being like, okay, the jerseys that you guys made are fine, but we love the throwbacks. If they make the throwbacks the primary ones in a couple of years, there will not be a single bad thing or question to the ownership and anything they've done. Would
you lose that joy of seeing them? Like, would you just get used to them at some point?
I mean, you would get used to it, but I'd rather get used to seeing a really good uniform than.
But they've had some dope,
combinations
when they put it together.
Then make those the
dark blue joints.
Make those the throwbacks. We're throwing it back to 2024 season.
But you don't have anything that's like, oh, that's dope. You don't have anything that's like a color rush or a special game anymore.
Honestly,
that's okay if it's all special.
I think throwing it back to like the 98 uniforms, like with the ones they wore like a couple of years ago.
Yeah.
In 5 years, the blue uniforms with like the orange stripes and like a throwback version could look kind of sick. To break out once a year.
What is it, 5 years you say, Zach, until they can change?
I think it's 3 or 4 years is the earliest you can.
I think it's a little bit easier if you're changing to something you already have than it is. Like building this entire new set of uniforms took longer than like if they had just tweaked to something they already had. But it changes maybe by like a year or something.
Yeah, I think the NFL also doesn't, for whatever reason, the NFL doesn't want to be Oregon. They don't want you putting out different uniforms. I think they kind of want a classic look that a team is established in. So I think the NFL would highly encourage the Broncos to stay with this for another year or two.
Except they would be switching to a classic look that they would be staying in, you know?
Yeah. I'm just saying that for whatever it is, it doesn't make any sense. The NFL, Nike, and teams like to kind of lock you into a look for 3 or 4 years when you start.
And
maybe it is actually 5 years.
And they make all those jerseys. That's why they're probably like, don't switch. We got to sell these.
Yeah.
We need like a year notice before we stop making these, so we don't just have stockpiles of Russell Wilson and all these jerseys.
Wow.
It's very true. Okay, let's continue to move on with some other things Everything with the training facility is on track. Greg Penner said 90% of the design is done with the new facility, and 10 to 15% they're on the way there of the building. They've torn it all down. They are now starting to build up. When Henry and I are there at practice, we see how the foundation is now being set. They've only had 1 or 2 snow days, which Greg Penner said they've had built in there. They're working Christmas Eve. They were working New Year's Eve. They had Christmas off. They had New Year's off, but that's been about it. So everything's on track there. Again, they want to open in 2026 training camp. So that's just 18 months away, which is crazy since none of the building is built yet. But good news on that front. And then the other front that fans really want to know about, new stadium. What's the update on a new stadium? Because we got a report last week that the Broncos are kind of eyeing 3 locations. The current stadium site to either renovate or build a new one. Just a couple of blocks down from there between 6th and 8th Avenue off of I-25. There's kind of just wasteland right there right now, so just scrape a bunch of old buildings and build a stadium there. Or Lone Tree was mentioned. Let's hear what Greg had to update us on yesterday with the stadium.
Yeah, we broke ground on the new training facility in September, and we're about 10 to 15% of the way there in terms of completion on construction. We're about 90% of the way there on design. Everything's going according to plan. We had some snow days baked in. I think we've only had 2 days off so far. So things are progressing as we planned, and we couldn't be more excited about how that's coming together. Our goal is to only have 1 training camp where that really disrupts our training camp. I think you all saw it this season. We managed the practice very well. Sean, their whole staff were great. Didn't disrupt us at all. So anyway, that's all on track, and we're really pleased. With the stadium, I'm sure you all have seen some rumors recently. We're continuing to do our diligence. It is a complex question and decision of what we decide to do, and we haven't ruled out anything at this point. We're still looking at options on the current site around Denver. We visited other places like Lone Tree. We've still got more steps to take there.
Okay, he didn't shy away from saying Lone Tree. What do you think about that?
I'm going to be really mad if they do it in Lone Tree because I just moved from Lone Tree. And the housing market is going to skyrocket as soon as people sit in there. So I'm praying.
So the traffic.
That's true.
So I'm praying that they don't do Lone Tree.
Yeah.
Just for that reason.
I like the Broncos Stadium. Like, maybe it's because how old am I? I'm 27. So I was born in 1997. Stadium opened in 2001. So it's like my entire lifetime is what my first Bronco game as like a little baby. I was the last game of the old stadium. So people my age, this is the only thing we've ever known. And with all the great memories there, I don't need a new stadium. Like I like.
Don't you want something nice and
like it'd be fun,
clean,
it'd
and
be
just
fun.
new?
It'd be fun, but also like
Just
it's
smell
kind of part
like
of the
money
identity.
when you walk in.
Like
I don't think it is.
You don't
I'll let
think
you continue.
so? Because like when you turn on a Bronco game, I was talking to RK about this. Like when you're just flipping through the NFL games on whatever they on Red Zone. When they cut to the Broncos Stadium, it is beautiful, and it's like that Colorado sunlight. Like it just looks different than any other game. Like it just has like that warm glow.
We'll still have the sun.
Not if you're inside.
Is it supposed to be indoors? But whose
Don't know
stadium?
yet. No one
Whose
knows.
stadium has been redone that you don't like? I don't think there's a single one that I don't like. That's
I
not
guess
better.
that's my
If
big
it's
thing.
dome too, though, but you could have a Super Bowl here if it's dome, like in
Yeah,
Minnesota.
and the Super Bowl thing, like I get, it would be fun, but
It would
again,
be awesome.
it would be awesome. But it would be awesome for that 1 week. And I don't want to make a decision about the next 30 years for like where the Broncos are going to be playing about one fun week. To me, it's like if you go to a car dealership and you're like, I don't know, like I like this car, and the car dealer's like, well, we have a $50 Applebee's gift card if you buy it. I'm not going to be like, oh yeah, this is great. Like that to me, and I know I'm in the minority, like the Super Bowl will be fun. I just don't care enough to be totally changing like the culture of Broncos football by going from an outdoor team to an indoor team to just have that 1 week. And I get like you get a Final Four, you get you probably get multiple Final Fours. You probably get one CFP championship, and one Super Bowl, one CFP, two Final Fours. It just isn't enough for me.
What about retractable? Would that change
I
your
wouldn't
mind?
mess with when you look at the actual retractable roofs, it's not like it's open and then you can close it. It's like there's like a little window in the top. And half the time it gets broken down anyway. Like the Broncos had the preseason game against the Colts this year. Supposed to be outside. Retractable roof broke. And so they just had to leave it inside. And even if it was, like, it's just a little window. So I'd say don't even mess with that.
We have the richest owners in football.
Yeah.
They could build a roof that just completely dropped off like a drop top coupe.
Yeah.
And you just bring it right back up.
If there was a way to make it look like the current stadium where it is that open, where it's like you look out the end zone and there's like the wind and the sunlight, the sunsets are all there, then I'm in. I just don't buy, like, no team has ever been able to build a stadium with a retractable roof that doesn't look like it's just a dome with a window.
So,
like, it hasn't happened once before, so I don't buy that the technology is there.
So clearly we need a bigger conversation about the stadium because we weren't even talking about retractable roofs, domes. But Henry, unfortunately, I have to break the news. There is going to be a new stadium. It hasn't been like officially announced by the owners, but
I agree.
You can kiss the current stadium goodbye, and it doesn't break my heart because the Broncos have only. You say there's history there. Not all the history. They didn't win all 3 Super Bowls there. They only won their final Super Bowl in 2015 there. It is an awesome stadium. But when you go to other stadiums and you see what awesome is, you're like, okay, bye. Loved having Empower Field. It was great time, but we'll move on, especially with what the richest owners in the NFL are going to do. They're going to make sure that this is the best stadium that's ever been built in the world. Simply. I mean, that's what it's going to be. That's what Broncos is going to have. So
I would say do it outside.
Now, and that's fair. And I think we definitely should have an off-season pod where we totally break this down in depth.
It just sucks for fans.
The question is, I don't know if it sucks for fans
because it's just so expensive. Like season ticket holders.
Well, so you're going too far in the weeds. We're gonna
if you're a season ticket holder,
really
you're
quick,
gonna blow $1,000 a seat.
We've
minimum
got super chats to hit, but the big thing was he is saying it might not be in Denver, and Todd doesn't want that because that would make his past decisions about moving regretful. I hope they stay in Denver, but I am definitely starting to let it sink in that I don't think it will be in Denver.
Dang.
I don't think it will. Or no, actually, I do think they'll keep it in Denver.
Okay,
but they're definitely building a new one.
Yeah, they're definitely building a new one.
The PSLs. Bills fans, if you want season tickets, $8,000. Minimum $8,000 to buy the rights to tickets.
Well,
wait list is dead. It's just whoever pays the most.
Well, it's also who that would be no taxpayer money, so that is a benefit of PSLs. But we'll dive into that soon because clearly there's a lot to talk about. Mile High Singh says
sign. No, Singh, you actually got right.
I got it wrong. You can't do this to me, Henry. You're going to confuse me even more. Mile High Singh says, yeah, that's fair to assume that I get that wrong, though. Says, Sean and George both said, I think, when referring to Bo and being the future quarterback. Is there anything behind that? Also, I hope Broncos draft Tyler Warrant. Cheers. No, I don't think so.
No.
I think you're reading too far into it there.
I would generally not listen to anything anybody says in a press conference, but whether they're saying I think or not, also, I mean, that in particular, don't read anything into.
They're literally just thinking, I think, there. So I wouldn't worry about that. And if they were thinking and they weren't sold on it, they wouldn't have said all of those things.
Yeah.
Did you hear Sean Payton say good things about Russell Wilson? No. I mean, simply, he might have said like one or two things. He never gushed about Russ the way he did gush about. Gush about? Means like talk highly about. He never talked highly about Russ the way he talked highly about Bo just yesterday as well. Spencer Niles says, if the stadium moves to Lone Tree, will we be the Lone Tree Broncos instead of Denver? I don't think Lone Tree Broncos sounds good. I hope they stay in Denver. Yeah, that's definitely a joke that we're gonna have if they move to Lone Tree. Is they're Lone Tree Broncos? But no, they're not gonna move names. They're gonna stay the Denver Broncos. They'll just be in Lone Tree, and they will have literally zero ties to Denver. Their facility isn't in Denver. Yeah. Their stadium won't be in Denver. They'll have no ties to Denver, but they'll still be the Denver Broncos.
But that's how most teams in the NFL are.
Yeah.
They're not actually in that city.
They're
Even
not
their stadiums aren't in there.
They're not the
More and
Orchard.
more every year.
They're not the Orchard Park Bills. They're the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
They're
not
not
the Santa Clara 49ers.
Yep. They're not the Inglewood with an I Chargers.
Yep.
They're the Los Angeles Chargers. Exactly. So, yeah, they'd stay the Denver Broncos. TV007 says, would you trade a first-round pick and a day 3 pick for Garrett Wilson?
No.
I'm not trading anything
No.
for anybody. If we can pay you to come to the team, I think yes. But other than that, we're building right now. I'm not trading any potential nothings.
Especially,
Wow.
especially for a receiver. If I'm trading a first for a receiver, I want like a true like prototype X receiver. Like I want 6'3" and all that sort of stuff. Garrett Wilson to me is like
So you wouldn't want Tyreek Hill 5 years ago because he's not 6'3"?
probably not. Again, like he's
Whoa.
I mean, he's a freak.
That's crazy.
He's a freak. Like that's a different conversation. He's almost more like the Joker than anything else. But with like a Garrett Wilson, great player, first round pick, absolutely not.
Yeah, I wouldn't go with the first-round pick. I want that first-round pick for a true Joker
he's a
player
luxury.
for
That's what
Sean
he
Payton's
is.
offense. I would do a second-round pick for Garrett Wilson, though. Let's talk on that. And we're going to dive more into this conversation, but we've got a lot more to talk about tomorrow. I'm excited for the show, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for the final show. Remember, it's the offseason. We are back on Friday. Stay tuned, 10 a.m. Thanks so much for tuning in. We'll see you tomorrow.
We all silly like the mayor.